2024 was an amazing year, especially for music. I made this type of video in 2023 for all the music I listened to that year, and I've just kept listening to music. Last year's video included 20 albums. This one has a lot more. I can't logically fit them all in this video without it becoming repetitive or dull, so I put them all in a playlist that you can find in the description below. It's on Spotify, so if you listen to Apple Music, then I'm sorry. You'll have to deal with some ads, unless you just copy them over to your streaming service. I'll only be including the albums that I have something actual to say about them, because in the last video, I mentioned a lot of albums where I was like, no, and that's not fun. It's just unnecessary negativity, so I'll just include the ones where I actually have something to say, but I will still be honest about the albums that I didn't enjoy. Finally, I've added a hidden gem list, which is just a simple little badge that I'll be putting on some albums that I find are hidden gems so far. Some of them have kind of exploded in popularity all of a sudden, but when I listened to them, they were a hidden gem, and I really enjoyed them, so I just want to push them a little bit further in this video. The purpose of this video is to shine light on smaller artists, as well as bigger ones, who released music in 2024. But this is not a review channel. I will not be talking about the specific musical whoa magic stuff that we did. I'll just be talking from my own feelings. It's like you walked up to me at a party, asked me about my favorite albums from 2024, and I just didn't stop talking. But this list is long, so let's get straight into it. Little Simz, Drop 7. I really liked this album. It was an interesting project, just an EP technically, but still, it made the list. I really liked her rapping, but I was surprised about my favorite. It was the song called Mood Swings. It's more like a dance song. I don't quite remember what the exact genre would be, but who cares about genres anyway? Blue Lips by Schoolboy Q. It was my first time properly listening to him, but it helped me start listening to other albums by him, like Oxymoron. I really like this album, just like the most that I will be speaking about today, and I just think it's perfect for most occasions. My favorite was the one called Faux, F-O-U-X, I don't know how to pronounce it, so if anybody cares to help me, then please correct me. A very interesting thing happened this year. It is Future and Metro Booming's We Don't Trust You. We all know what happened from it, but if you're not clued into it, this was the start of a very fun rap battle. So my favorite song is Like That, which is featuring Kendrick Lamar. But when I heard this album for the first time, it had just been released and there were hidden features, or they just hadn't updated yet. But so I heard this without knowing that Kendrick would be on it. So I was listening through it all, really enjoyed most of it. But then Like That came on. I really like NWA and EC as well, so I immediately recognized the sample. Then Kendrick just went on. I was sitting on the train and I was like, okay, I understand what's going on. It was quite an experience, and I really enjoyed it. Next up is Might Delete Later by J. Cole, which included a diss track toward Kendrick, but it was half diss track, half praise, and then he took it all back, so I guess we'll have to look past it. My favorites on that one were Pricey, Hunting Wabbits, and 3001. I didn't have a list there, it's actually called Hunting Wabbits. I don't understand, I guess it's just the sample thing from the start. Next up, we have another trust issue. We Still Don't Trust You by Future and Metro Booming. I enjoyed this one way more than the first one actually, because it has a better vibe. I don't like the word vibe, but it really does. It's more like a soothing project than the first one. I guess that's because they came in with more aggression on that one. My favorite is the title track called We Don't Trust You. I tried to figure out between some other ones, which I don't remember which they were right now, but We Still Don't Trust You is my favorite of We Still Don't Trust You. Next up, we have Richie with Triple Digits 112. I found Richie through a single for this one. That single is still my favorite of the album, called Dizzy. It has a very odd feeling to it. It just feels like you're high or something. You're confused, you're discombobulated. I don't know. A bunch of big words can be thrown in there, but it just He has a very interesting way of rapping, but I really enjoy it. Vince Staples' Dark Times. This is another moment where I've found a new artist for myself. I've always heard about Vince Staples, but I haven't properly listened to him before, so I started with Dark Times. It's a very sad but hopeful album from my interpretation, and I really like the line on Little Homies where he says, "Life hard, but I go harder." It just feels like it brings up the hope. It's just, yes, life is hard, but I'll keep pushing on. My favorite track is Shame on the Devil. It's just an amazing track. I don't know what to say about it. It's stuck on my head and it sounds so fresh. Next up is RM, Right Place, Wrong Person. I haven't listened to RM before. As you may notice throughout this video, there's a lot of people I haven't heard before, but I didn't even know who RM was. Later, I found out he's from BTS, but that didn't stop me. I really like this album. I found the album through Little Simz feature. I really like Little Simz. That track is amazing, but my favorite is actually called Lost. When I talked to a friend about this album, they knew about it, and everybody I've talked to knew about it, but I really missed it for some reason. I don't know, it just went under my radar. Next up, we have Jev, When Angels Cry. This is another first listen for me, and The Art of War has a little sample from The Wire, which I was watching right during that time. So I believe I heard The Art of War, really liked the ending of it, and then I watched the episode and I was like, wait, I recognize that. So even though I really like that moment with that song, my favorites are definitely Famous and Save a Spot for Me. The way he sings or raps Save a Spot for Me on Save a Spot for Me, like, it's so cool. Just save a spot for me. I can't replicate it. I just love it. Next up is a very interesting cameo called Bad Cameo by James Blake and Lil Yachty. As you may have seen from my previous video talking about albums, Lil Yachty, Let's Start Here, was my favorite track from that year. This one's amazing too. There's something very interesting about this cameo, and I just guess it's the different styles, but it works out perfectly. Everything is great on it. It's a full experience according to me, but if I have to say one, it's Twice. Next up is Movie by Your Old Roog. So I have 3 favorites on this one called I Think I Love Her, Grandmother's Lessons, and The Sandbox. The first track is a really easy listen to me. It feels very much like a radio song without the negative aspects of it. It's just a cozy love song from my interpretation. Next one is really cozy and truly, it made me call my grandma. I was just fixing some coffee and Grandmother's Lessons came on, and then I was like, wait, I haven't called my grandma in a long time. I called her and thank you. And the third one is great storytelling. I love when somebody raps and then right before the chorus comes in, they say the same thing. This next album is one that I thought was universally recognized, but I was surprised when I saw his amount of listeners a month. J Boogs with Raw Deluxe. I haven't heard the original version, I just double checked so that it wasn't missing anything. But Raw Deluxe by J Boogs is amazing. Half of it is rapping with people like, for example, Jev, who I talked about earlier, and himself. He has a very funny song where he has to take a rap break and he's just talking to the beat, being like, I have to take some time. I haven't done this in a while. It cracked me up. It was really funny. But my favorite is the song called The Jungle. And this is really a hidden gem for me. I think you should go check it out if you like beats and if you just like the typical old school hip hop. Next up, we have Eminem, The Death of Slim Shady. The song called Temporary reminds me of Hailey's song and When I'm Gone. And I like it, but it feels too polished, in my opinion. I enjoy when it's rougher production. I don't enjoy the whole polished stuff. It doesn't have to be perfect for the radio for me to listen to it, for me to enjoy it. That's why I go out and find smaller artists and find something more underground, because I like the uniqueness. And it didn't feel so unique when it was this perfect. And I'm not saying that this album was perfect, but it had one song that I really liked called Somebody Save Me. It's not the song that I would like seek out to play, but it's good when it comes on. But I won't be replaying the album, sadly. Berlioz, Open This Wall. I got the opposite effect from J Boogs. I was like, what is this? I haven't heard of this before. This must be something unknown. I must be so cool, I must be so early. But no, apparently he's really big, and I heard it in the climbing gym just some weeks ago. But my first listen to it was spectacular. I was walking my 50,000 steps in one day because... don't ask me. And I found this album and I was like, okay, it sounds okay. I just listened to one song before I went out on my walk. So I had something planned to listen to. When I actually listened to the full thing, it got me energized. I think I was halfway through my 50,000 and I really needed the energy. And I actually can't decide on a favorite for this one. I would just recommend that you listen through the whole thing, just focus or whatever, but it's also great to study to, in my opinion. Next up, we have NX Worries with Why Lord, and I actually ended up buying the vinyl. There's an interesting story with this blue stripe that I had to chase after. The vinyl store near me had the green one in their storefront, and I really wanted the blue one because it looks so much cooler. I'll show you in a minute. So when I got to the store, I was like, oh, I only have the green one? Come on. But then I got in, started scrolling through the new releases, and they had it. They had like one of them standing there, and I was so happy that I could get it. This is really a vinyl album, according to me. There are different vibes to different albums. Some albums are not made for vinyl, according to me. Vinyl is something where I put it on, I relax, I rest, and just take it easy. But some albums aren't made for that. Well, this one is. Some of my favorites are Keep Her, Fall Through, Walk On By. Here's what the vinyl looks like for you who's curious. And the reason why I was looking for a good looking vinyl is because the other one, the green one, nothing special about it. It's a black vinyl with a green label. Sure, it's fine. Black vinyls are cool as well, but this design is like way more interesting. Childish Gambino with Bando Stone and the New World. This is a soundtrack for a movie, and I hope the movie is good, but my hopes aren't too high because you never know what can happen. Yes, I did listen to Ada Vista as well, but I didn't enjoy it as much as this one, so I had to make a choice. If the movie isn't good, we at least get a great soundtrack to listen to. My favorites are Yoshinoya and Steps Beach. Next up, we have Mustard with Faith of a Mustard Seed. I found this album through the whole Kendrick Lamar and Drake and J. Cole and everybody beef when Mustard worked on Not Like Us. I believe I had heard of Mustard before, or potentially just the producer tag, but I gave this one a chance thanks to Not Like Us. And I had also heard the Pray For Me single on YouTube. My favorite track is called One Bad Decision, and that's just great from the beginning to end. JPEG Mafia with I Lay Down My Life For You. This is the first solo project with JPEG Mafia that I have heard, so I listed this as a first listen to artist, even though it maybe fully isn't, because I've listened to Scaring the Host before. My favorite tracks are Don't Rely on Other Men and I Recovered From This. I Recovered From This is something that I really like to just sit and listen to, but when walking, Don't Rely on Other Men is perfect, because it's at the same pace as I walk. It's just a little detail, but I'm soft for the little details, come on. The next title is long, so I'll have to look in my phone. It's called Michael and the Mighty Midnight Revival, Songs for Sinners and Saints by Killer Mike. I'd like to start this off by saying that my opinion on Killer Mike's Michael from 2023 has definitely changed, not due to the Grammys. It was very bad timing for me to re-listen to it, but I'm ashamed of the rating I gave it in the last video. My favorites are Slumber for Junkies and Nobody Knows. Slumber for Junkies are a mashup between, I believe, 2 songs, and Nobody Knows. Great track. I love it. Now we have arrived to another vinyl buy. Samurai by Lupe Fiasco. I listened to this while biking one day because I had seen it for some time and been considering listening to it, but I didn't until that day where I had some extra time over. It's only about 40 minutes, so it was perfect for my bike ride, and I should have listened to it earlier. It's an amazing album with an amazing artwork, and I was considering buying the album every time I went to the vinyl store. But I didn't do it until Christmas, when I had gotten some extra money, and I felt like I could spoil myself a little bit. My favorite track is called Outside, and there's a lot more to go through on that album, so just give it a listen. Better Me Than You by Big Sean. I've heard about Big Sean before, and it was actually on Detroit vs. Everybody, the first time I heard about him, but I have never listened to him until now. This track reminds me to Mustard's Faith of a Mustard Seed, and I really enjoy Charlie Wilson's beautiful voice. My favorite track is called Typecast. I don't know what it is with it, it just sticks to my head. Next up, we have something that I would call a hidden gem. Emmett James is given Healed Black Man. I listened to this and I was just captivated immediately. I was going to bed, but I had to wait. I had to finish listening to the album. A quote that I really enjoyed from this project is, "Are you actually healing or are you avoiding triggers?" My favorite track is called Sleep When I'm Dead. It's about the whole hustler's mentality of sleeping when you're dead. Kids at Play with the album called Boyhood. I mentioned this group in my last video, and they came out with something new, and I think I'd like to say that I enjoyed this one more. This project is so much fun, and it really feels like it's just kids at play. And my favorite track on it is called Sleepovers in 2011. Soon after that, I listened to Joey Valence and Bray with No Hands, specifically Deluxe Edition. The Deluxe version has 5 new songs, and this duo's energy really reminds me of Beastie Boys. Even though I really like Danny Brown and his style, that song with him on this album is not my favorite. I can't decide which one is, but some that have stuck to my head are Omnitrix and No Hands. We have arrived to my final vinyl purchase for 2024's new music, which is Mustafa with Dunya. I am not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but this is an amazing album. This is another one where I can't give you a specific answer on what my favorite was, because it's just an amazing experience from beginning to end. When I went to purchase this album, I hadn't heard it before. I had seen it on my Spotify that morning when I went to the city, and when I was looking at vinyls, I didn't see it. But later on, I saw that the vinyl store had posted on their Instagram that they had it in store, and I got curious. So I listened to a total of like 3 half songs just to get a grasp of what type of music it was. I was captivated. So I went back to the store and I bought it. The cashier was kind of confused when I said, "Oh, I saw on your Instagram that you had this in stock." So I'm not sure if he knew what it was, but he should know because it is amazing. It has a beautiful poem or something on the inner sleeve, which is stuck with me still, but I'm not going to read it out loud now because that takes some time. So if you can find it on Google, then do so because it's amazing. Next up, there's a recurring name actually. Jay Boogs and LA Reese with We All Need Help. Jay Boogs worked on the production for this project, and LA Reese did the rapping. This is truly a hidden gem to me. I'm not sure what amount of listeners he's on now, but please go check it out. If I would describe this in one sentence, I would call it a thought-provoking energizer. My favorite of the project is called Metamorphosis, even though there's a lot more that I really enjoy. Next up, we have Bon Iver with Sable. Bon Iver is probably an old artist to all of you, but I hadn't heard For Emma Forever Ago until this year. A friend actually put me on, that led to me following him, and then this project came out and I really enjoyed it. Speyside is a good song, but Awards Season is better to me because it's very unique. And I really enjoy unique stuff, as you may have noticed in this video. Next up, we have Mavi with Shadowbox. I found this album through a YouTube channel, which I've been watching a lot lately, called Turning the Tables. The premise of the show is that the son shows his dad a lot of music, and I found them through the hip-hop videos. But they have also started a podcast where they interview guests. So they interviewed Mavi, and I recognized his name, so I was interested and clicked on the video. and I am glad I did. Because Shadowbox is so good, it is so fragile. I don't remember the exact word for it right now, but it's so honest. My favorite track is called I Did. There's a lot more that I like. I really enjoy the intro called 20,000 Leagues. Samara Sin with The Drive Home. I found her through a single called Moving Day, and I was captivated due to her interesting voice. So ever since that song, I've been going back to her older stuff and the newer stuff that she has released, and finally she dropped this album. And I would like to say that my favorite is called Sinner, and I don't think I'm alone with that opinion. And it's time for another hidden gem, Yankee Night Golf. I found this one through Softboy Records, which is the record company where Kojak is right now. And I just did a deep dive on their website, just looking through all of their artists. And this interested me, because it was an album that was about to come out, so I was still not late. It is always fun to be there on the first day. The intro has some fun golf sounds to it, and I listened to a podcast where Yankee talked about this album. And apparently he doesn't put much thought into the lyrics, so I wasn't sure what he was talking about at most times. My favorites are Last Saturday Night and Southside. Here's the luxury of getting 2 hidden gems in a row. Shiv, The Defiance of a Sad Girl. My first listen to this track was when I was going to Berlin, which I made a video of recently. It was a very long train ride, and I was interested to listen to some new music. I had both Yankee and The Defiance of a Sad Girl in my ears at that time. Ever since the single called Cherry Pie came out with Kojak, I was interested in this album, and then it finally came out. I believe due to me being stuck to that single for such a long time, that's my favorite. But this is a full experience that I really recommend that you go and listen to. Next up, we have an album that I don't think you have missed. It's Chromacopia with Tyler the Creator. I was so excited when he started posting teasers for this album, and I was equally excited when it came out. It's not the best thing he has done, but it is really amazing. Hearing Wayne on Sticky was great because I really appreciate Wayne's voice. And that entire track just gives me a stank face throughout the whole thing. I believe this is a Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers snowball, where Kendrick Lamar hosted Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers and made rappers open up way more about their insecurities and traumas throughout their lives. All these songs that I have put in the 2024 playlist are ones that I enjoy almost the same amount. But if I have to pick some favorites, it's Noid, Judge Judy, and Like Him. After that, we have 2 Westside Gunn projects. It's Still Praying and 11. And in general, I really like Westside Gunn's music, so I always have a hard time figuring out my favorites, so I can't select any on either one of these 2 projects. They are shorter projects though, so I recommend that you go listen to both of them. And after that, you get another hidden gem. Claremont V. Second with They Said It Would Rain. I actually had this on while studying, and it works. I sometimes have a hard time listening to music while studying, especially if they have lyrics, because I'll just get stuck on what they are saying instead of my actual work that has to be done. The entire project has a jazz feel to it, but my definite favorite is called Born to Be. Absol also put out an album this year called Soul Burger. Saudi Sweats feels like Westside Gunn, and Squeeze First 2 is very odd but really nice. My favorites are definitely California Dream and Crazier. I have a really hard time pronouncing this next name. Will Kubus, the Marble and the Sculptor. I found this artist through his previous project called It Takes a Village, and this album was actually removed earlier. I don't know what happened, he didn't mention it on Instagram or anything, but I believe there was some copyright issues or something. Once it was released again, some of the songs were gone, so that leads me to believe that was the case. But my favorites, Material Cause and Meditations, really summarize the album to me. Next up, we have a very surprising drop by Detaje, Lone Borealis. This is a first listen to me of an artist. I had never heard of him before, but all of a sudden, Janice popped up on everybody's YouTube recommendations, and it just exploded in popularity immediately. There are clear influences to people like Mac Miller and Tyler the Creator, but he addresses that in the outro song. It's very obvious that he's inspired by them, but there's not copycatting going on. I enjoy both Janice and Concert 99. Concert 99 is a very dark story, but it's so well made. If it hasn't become unhidden yet, then I believe Lone Borealis is a very hidden gem. Next up, we have Denzel Curry and King of the Mischievous South. There was a volume 2 or something, I don't understand what went on there, but this one simply included more songs and the old ones. I'm just going to include this one. And my favorite is called Black Flag Freestyle. And then we're back to another first listen. Corday, The Crossroads. I found this through a single called 2/10, or I found him through that. And then he released an album and 2/10 was included. I got curious, I went in, and I was impressed. My favorite song is called 06 Dreaming, which is about his mother, who tried to be an American Idol, I believe it was. It was some sort of game show like that, but didn't succeed, and now it feels like he's living out her dream and making her proud. So one afternoon, me and my friend were sitting in a call, just chatting about, and then Kendrick Lamar posted a teaser. He posted a teaser called GNX, and we were shocked. We had just been talking about how amazing it would be to get just something from Kendrick Lamar again. Later on, I went out to make myself some food, and he posted an entire album. Surprisingly, the title track is not for me, but both Heart Part 6 and Gloria are amazingly written. Although I'll have to say that Reincarnated is my favorite. It is built on a Tupac sample and it really gave me some Nas feelings as well. Some people have mentioned Eminem, but I don't feel that as much as the Nas inspiration. As always, you get good writing with Kendrick Lamar, so listen through this track if you haven't already. It's a shorter one, people complained about that, but I don't have any issues with it. And here's another hidden gem. Kodo, who I mentioned in the 2023 video, has released another project with his For the Tribe group or collective or whatever it is, For the Tribe Disc 2. I know I just mentioned that shorter rhyme times are okay, but Koda has always kept it short. I'm just happy that this reached the 30-minute mark. Everybody's talents really shines through on this one, but my favorite is Steady Steps. I think the trumpet sound or whatever it is in the background, it's really interesting to me, and I really enjoy it. And another first listen for me, Kamasi Washington, Fearless Movement. I saw this in both vinyl stores that I'm a frequent customer in, and I was interested once it popped up on my Spotify as well. This is something that I would like to have on vinyl, but I haven't gotten it yet because it's a longer album, so it costs more. But the whole project really feels like a movie, and due to that, it's a full experience that I would recommend to everybody. But I actually have one favorite. It is called Interstellar Peace, The Last Dance. And like the title suggests, it really feels like a last dance. If you have played the mission American Venom on Red Dead Redemption 2, you'll understand what I mean if you compare that song with this one. Also, Andre 3000 with this amazing flute playing is featured, and that's always a plus. Smino, maybe in Nirvana. There's a lot of black and white album covers from this year. For example, GNX, Chromacopia, and this one. Smino's rap style has always been hit or miss for me. I really like the album called Love for Rent, but he has some rapping styles on that one as well, where he just misses, according to me. I believe the tracks will grow on me eventually, but my favorite at this point in time is Dear Friend. I hope that his rapping style grows on me because it is so unique. Last but not least, we have Doechii, Alligator Bites Never Heal. I found her through her Tiny Desk concert, but not on the actual YouTube channel. It was actually through people republishing it on Instagram Reels and TikTok. The album cover is amazing with a albino alligator, and just the whole look of the thing is intriguing. I believe that Doechii is perfect for TDE, and her music gives me the same joy as I get when I listen to Tizo Touchdown. The final thing I'd like to say about her is that she's really an artist to me, both in the music aspect but also just how everything looks. If you haven't seen her Tiny Desk concert, go check it out. It's not a long watch and it is definitely worth it. I couldn't pick out a favorite for this one, but something that really stuck to me is Boom Bap. Not because it's an amazing rap song whatsoever, but it is so funny. It includes lyrics from Untitled Unmastered by Kendrick Lamar, Get Top on the Phone, and then just boom bap. It's funny. Come on, you have to have some funny music in your playlist. Also, I chose to pick out a single that I really enjoyed from this year, and that one is called How to Impress God by Saba and No ID. I've listened to Saba before, and I've of course heard of No ID, but I haven't heard them work together before. I don't know how literal the track is, but the subject matter is about impressing God and the constant chase to do so. God may in this case just be people in general, or yourself, or your family, or whatever, but it's really thought-provoking to me, because there's always this burden to impress everybody around you. And if you're religious, impressing God, making somebody proud of you. I think this track really makes you understand that no, you're not impressing everybody. And that brutal honesty of like, you're not impressing God or whoever you're looking up to makes me relax, because you don't have to chase it, like, it's okay. But that was the end of my list of 2024 albums that I listened to. This is just the order of when I listened to them, and then just put the best single in the end. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please join me in a conversation in the comment section below about what you enjoyed from this year. And just, if you have some general highlights, then feel free to share them. As I mentioned earlier, the full playlist for the 2024 songs that I listened to is in the description below, so check it out if you're curious about what else I got up to this year. Take care everybody, have a good 2025, and listen to some new music. There's nothing wrong with finding a small artist, listening to their music, or even a bigger artist. If you don't enjoy it, then turn it off. But at least give it a chance. Every time I mess up, I hit myself on the leg, but I was training yesterday, so it hurts every time.